I found myself reflecting on the tumultuous journey that had brought me here. It felt like a lifetime ago when I first met Hiroshi, a struggling artist with dreams as vibrant as his canvases. Back then, we shared a cramped studio, its walls adorned with his unfinished masterpieces and our whispered dreams. I believed in him with a fervor that bordered on reverence, pouring my time and energy into supporting his art, convinced that his genius would one day illuminate the world. Yet, as the seasons turned, the reality of our ambitions began to strain the threads of our shared tapestry. Hiroshi's determination morphed into obsession, his once gentle strokes on canvas becoming frenzied and desperate. Our relationship, once a sanctuary, became a battleground of unspoken resentments and unmet expectations. Despite the growing chasm between us, I clung to the memories of our early days, weathering the storm in the hope that our dreams would coalesce into something beautiful. But life has a way of unraveling even the most carefully woven plans. On a cold, brittle morning, Hiroshi left. His departure was quiet, a note left on the kitchen table, next to a half-empty cup of coffee. "I need to find myself," it said, the words as stark and unforgiving as the winter outside. The world I had built around him crumbled, leaving behind a raw, aching void. In the weeks that followed, I wandered through a fog of uncertainty. The world outside seemed unchanged, but inside I was adrift, caught in a liminal space between what was and what could be. But as the days passed, something unexpected began to stir within me, a flicker of resilience, a whispered promise of renewal. I dusted off an old notebook, its pages yellowed with age and filled with sketches and ideas I had once cherished. Tentatively, I began to draw again, the pencil gliding across the paper, tracing lines that spoke of new beginnings. Each stroke was a declaration of independence, a silent vow to reclaim the dreams I had set aside. The transformation was not instantaneous, nor was it easy. There were nights when doubt crept in like an unwelcome guest, whispering of inadequacies and past failures. But with each sunrise, I found strength in the quiet solitude of my own company, in the steady rhythm of creation. My art, once a mere hobby, slowly became my lifeline. I began to experiment with colors and textures, creating pieces that spoke of hope, loss, and the beauty of resilience. To my surprise, the world took notice. An unexpected invitation to exhibit my work at a local gallery arrived, the words on the page shimmering with possibility. At the opening, the gallery buzzed with the soft hum of conversation. Strangers lingered in front of my paintings, their expressions a mirror of the emotions I had poured into each canvas. It was there, amidst the warmth of the crowd, that I felt the first, true sense of belonging, a connection that transcended the superficial bonds of the past. As the evening wore on, I found myself engaged in a conversation with Aiko, a fellow artist whose work I had long admired. Her presence was like a breath of fresh air, her insights both challenging and invigorating. Our dialogue flowed effortlessly, weaving a tapestry of shared experiences and aspirations. Through her eyes, I saw my journey in a new light, not as a series of losses, but as a path of self-discovery and growth. Her encouragement was a balm to my soul, a reminder that my worth was not tied to anyone else's success or validation. As the night drew to a close, I stood before my favorite piece, a vibrant landscape that seemed to pulse with life and promise. It was a testament to the strength I had found within myself, a symbol of the new chapter I was writing. In that moment, I realized that my journey was far from over. It was only just beginning. And for the first time in a long while, I felt at peace with the uncertainty of the path ahead, ready to embrace whatever came next with open arms and an unyielding spirit. The rain drummed against the window like an insistent reminder of the loneliness that had settled into my heart. I watched as each droplet raced down the glass, tracing paths that mirrored the tears I had shed in the days following his departure. It felt as though my world had cracked open, exposing a raw, vulnerable part of me that I had long forgotten existed. Yet, even as the pain threatened to swallow me whole, there was a flicker of something else. A distant, hopeful light that beckoned me forward. His name was Yuto, a name that had once conjured warmth and security, now left a bitter taste in my mouth. We met during our first year of university, a serendipitous encounter over a spilled cup of coffee and a shared class schedule. Over time, we became inseparable, his dreams becoming my dreams. I supported him through each struggle, every late night, study session, every audition, and every rejection. I was his anchor, the one who believed in him when no one else did. But as his dreams began to take shape, the man I had loved for so long slowly drifted away. The success he had longed for finally knocked on his door, and with it, a new world opened up. A world that no longer seemed to have room for me. His departure was sudden, like a band-aid ripped from a wound that had yet to heal. He left with a hurried goodbye, his eyes filled with apologies that never reached his lips. I watched him walk away, unsure of how to piece together the fragments of my life that he left behind. In the days that followed, I found solace in the small things. The warmth of the sun on my face, the laughter of strangers in the park, the gentle hum of the city that continued on, indifferent to my heartbreak. It was during one of these quiet moments, sitting alone on a bench overlooking the bustling streets, that I realized something profound. I had spent so much time supporting Yuto that I had forgotten my own dreams, my own desires. Somewhere along the way, I had allowed my identity to be swallowed by his ambitions. It was time to reclaim my life, to rediscover who I was beneath the layers of devotion I had wrapped myself in. Driven by this newfound determination, I threw myself into my work. I was a writer at heart, always scribbling notes and ideas on scraps of paper, dreaming of worlds yet to be created. I had always thought of my writing as a hobby, something to pass the time. But now, it became my lifeline, the thread that held my shattered pieces together. The days turned into weeks, and then into months. My writing flourished, fueled by the emotions that coursed through me like a turbulent river. The pain, the longing, the betrayal, they bled onto the page, transforming into stories that resonated with others. My words found an audience, and before I knew it, my work was being published, celebrated for its raw honesty and depth. The irony was not lost on me. In losing Yuto, I had found myself. My success grew, each achievement a testament to the strength I had discovered within. The shadows of my past slowly faded, replaced by the vibrant hues of a future I was finally beginning to embrace. Yet, amidst the triumph, there lingered a ghost of what once was. Yuto's shadow still loomed, a reminder of the love that had once been my entire world. I often wondered if he ever thought of me, if he regretted his choices. But those thoughts were fleeting, quickly overshadowed by the life I was building, one that was mine and mine alone. In the bustling chaos of my newfound success, I met others who inspired me, challenged me, and taught me the value of true companionship. One such person was Aiko, a fellow writer whose passion for storytelling matched my own. Our paths crossed at a literary conference, her vibrant energy drawing me in like a moth to a flame. We bonded over shared dreams and late-night writing sessions, her friendship becoming a comforting balm to my soul. As I stood on the precipice of a new chapter in my life, I realized that the journey was far from over. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril. But this time, I was ready to face it on my own terms, armed with the knowledge that I was more than the sum of my past. I was a force to be reckoned with, a storyteller with a tale that was only just beginning. The rain tapped softly against the window, a rhythmic patter that mirrored the gentle drumming of my fingers on the edge of the table. I sat in the dim glow of the cafe's corner, the scent of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the fragrance of rain-soaked earth. It was a place where time seemed to unravel slowly, allowing me to untangle my thoughts, stitch by stitch. It was here that I first met him, a chance encounter that now felt like destiny's tangled thread. I remember the way his eyes sparkled with dreams larger than life, and how his laughter filled the room with a warmth that seemed to melt the coldest of hearts. Back then, I was captivated by his vision, his relentless ambition, and I believed in him with a fervor that eclipsed my own aspirations. For years, I stood by his side, whispering encouragements and shouldering burdens that were not my own. I watched as he soared on the wings of ambition, as we both chased after dreams that danced on the horizon like mirages. But along the way, as the shadows of doubt began to creep into the edges of his ambition, he started to falter. The luminous future he had painted began to fade, and soon, our paths diverged. The day he left, I returned to this very cafe, clutching the fragments of a shared dream. I sat in silence, letting the memories wash over me like a tide that refused to recede. I realized then that I had lost myself in the echoes of his aspirations. My own dreams had been buried beneath layers of compromise and sacrifice, and yet, in the aftermath of his departure, I found a strange sense of liberation. I began to rediscover my own path, tentatively at first, as if learning to walk anew. I immersed myself in the world of art, my long-neglected passion. Each stroke of the brush felt like a heartbeat, each color a new emotion unfurling within me. I poured my soul onto the canvas, painting scenes of raw emotion and unspoken stories. It was cathartic, like exhaling after holding my breath for far too long. As my art began to gain recognition, I found myself surrounded by a new circle of friends and mentors who nurtured my growth. Among them was Sora, a fellow artist with a penchant for capturing the ephemeral beauty of nature. Sora's gentle encouragement and keen eye helped refine my skills, pushing me to explore realms of creativity I had never dared to venture before. Together, we held exhibitions that drew the attention of critics and art enthusiasts alike. My work, once confined to the shadows of another's dreams, now stood illuminated. In galleries, each piece a testament to my journey. I had become successful in a way I had never imagined, my art resonating with audiences on a profound level. But with success came an unexpected confrontation. One evening, as I was preparing for another exhibition, I saw him again. He stood in the doorway, his silhouette outlined against the vibrant colors of my paintings. His presence was a ghost from the past, a reminder of the roads we once traveled together. There was a moment of silence as our eyes met, a silent acknowledgement of the paths we've walked. He spoke of his own struggles, of dreams that had unraveled and ambitions that had led him astray. There was regret in his voice, a longing for what was lost. Yet, beneath it all, I sensed a new humility, a recognition of the fleeting nature of success. As we stood amidst the echoes of our past, I realized that my journey had come full circle. I had found my own voice, and in doing so, had rewritten the narrative of my life. The art I created was no longer a reflection of another's dreams, but a vibrant tapestry woven from the threads of my own experiences. In that moment, I understood that our paths had crossed for a reason, each encounter a stepping stone towards personal growth. I harbored no resentment, only gratitude for the lessons learned and the strength I had gained. As I turned back to my paintings, I felt a sense of peace envelop me, a quiet assurance that I was exactly where I was meant to be. The rain poured relentlessly as I sat by the window, watching droplets race each other down the glass. It was one of those days where the world felt like a distant echo, and my mind was a whirlpool of fragmented memories. I couldn't help but replay the moment when everything changed, when he walked away, leaving a void I thought would never be filled. His name was Ryusuke, and for years we were inseparable, a dynamic duo navigating the chaotic world of aspiring artists in Tokyo. Ryusuke had dreams that burned, bright, a musician with a talent that seemed otherworldly. I was his anchor, managing gigs, schedules, and being the constant cheerleader for his ambitions. I believed in him more than I believed in myself. But ambition, much like the sea, can be both beautiful and treacherous. As Ryusuke's star began to rise, so did the shadows of doubt and insecurity within him. Our conversations shifted from dreams shared to dreams deferred, and I could feel the distance grow like an insidious vine between us. I tried to hold on, to understand the storm raging inside him, but one day he simply left. No explanation, no goodbye, just the echo of his guitar lingering in the silence. In the aftermath of his departure, I found myself adrift, lost in a sea of what-ifs and why-nots. Yet, amidst the desolation, a flicker of resolve ignited within me. I realized I had poured so much of myself into Ryusuke's dreams that I had forgotten my own. The art I once loved had become a fading memory, but now it was time to reclaim it. The transition was anything but easy. Tokyo's art scene was a labyrinth of talent, ambition, and fierce competition. Yet, with each canvas I painted, I felt a piece of myself come alive. It was as if the colors whispered secrets I had long forgotten, guiding me back to a place of passion and purpose. I enrolled in a renowned art school, immersing myself in a world that was both intimidating and exhilarating. The days turned into weeks, and soon I was surrounded by a group of eclectic souls who shared my fervor for creation. There was Mayumi, whose sculptures seemed to capture the very essence of emotion, and Haruto, a gifted photographer with a knack for finding beauty in the mundane. Our bond was forged in the fires of shared struggle and late-night brainstorming sessions. As my art evolved, so did my confidence. I began to exhibit my work, each piece a reflection of my journey, of loss, rediscovery, and the quiet strength found in solitude. It wasn't long before my pieces caught the attention of a prominent gallery owner, leading to an opportunity I had once thought impossible, a solo exhibition. The night of the exhibition was a kaleidoscope of emotions. The gallery buzzed with anticipation as guests wandered from piece to piece, their whispers a symphony of admiration. Standing amidst the crowd, I felt a sense of belonging, a recognition that my journey had come full circle. And yet, there was one shadow that lingered in the periphery of my mind, a whisper of the past that refused to be silenced. As the evening drew to a close, I stepped outside to catch my breath. The city lights shimmered like 1,000 stars, a reminder of the dreams that had once bound me to Ryusuke. In that moment of reflection, I felt a hand on my shoulder, a touch both familiar and unexpected. Turning, I found myself face to face with Ryusuke. His presence was like a ghost from a life I had almost forgotten. He looked different, older, perhaps wearier, but his eyes held the same intensity that had once captivated me. "I saw your work," he said, his voice a mix of awe and regret. "It's incredible. You've become someone extraordinary." I searched his face, seeking the truth behind his words. The years of silence between us stretched like a chasm, filled with unspoken questions and unresolved emotions. Yet, in that moment, I realized something profound. I had found my own path, not in spite of his absence, but because of it. The rain had stopped, leaving the air crisp and clear. I smiled, a genuine smile that spoke of acceptance and newfound strength. "Thank you, Ryusuke. I think I needed to lose you to find myself." As he walked away, I felt a sense of closure. The past was a tapestry of memories, but the future was a blank canvas, waiting for the vibrant strokes of my own making. And for the first time, I was ready to paint it with all the colors of my soul. The autumn leaves scattered across the campus like confetti, their brilliant hues of amber, and crimson painting the ground in a fiery tapestry. I had always loved this time of year, the crisp air invigorating, a reminder of change and resilience. Yet today, the chill seemed to seep deeper into my bones, echoing the hollow ache that had settled in my chest. When I first met Hiroshi, I was a freshman, wide-eyed and eager to absorb everything the university had to offer. He was a senior, charismatic, and confident, his presence as commanding as the summer sun. We met at a literature club meeting, where his eloquence and passion for the written word captivated me. It wasn't long before I found myself drawn into his orbit, supporting his every endeavor, believing in his dreams almost more than my own. For 3 years, I stood by him, offering unwavering support and sacrificing my own desires in the process. I edited his manuscripts late into the night, attended his readings, and even took on part-time jobs to help fund his projects. I was the wind beneath his wings, or so I thought. But as his graduation approached, the distance between us widened, a chasm that seemed impossible to bridge. The day he left was unremarkable in its ordinariness. The sky was overcast, the air heavy with the promise of rain. He stood before me, his eyes averted, as he delivered the words that shattered the world I had so carefully built around us. "I need to focus on my career," he said, his voice devoid of the warmth that once drew me in. "I can't let anything hold me back." The words were a knife, slicing through the fabric of my reality. Yet, in the echoing silence that followed his departure, I found a strange sense of liberation. It was as if the chains that had bound me to his aspirations had finally fallen away, leaving me to discover my own path. In the weeks that followed, I immersed myself in my studies, channeling the pain and betrayal into my work. I explored new interests, joined clubs, and forged connections with people who saw me not as an extension of Hiroshi, but as an individual with my own passions and dreams. Among them was Yuki, a reserved yet insightful artist, whose quiet strength and perceptive nature became a source of comfort and inspiration. Yuki and I would often find ourselves in the small, art-filled cafe on the corner of campus, the air fragrant with the scent of freshly brewed coffee and oil paints. Our conversations were a balm to my wounded soul, his gentle wisdom guiding me toward a deeper understanding of myself. He encouraged me to write again, to pour my heart onto the page without fear or restraint. As the months slipped by, I found my voice emerging, strong and clear. I began submitting my work to various publications, and to my astonishment, they were well received. Opportunities I had never dared to dream of began to unfold, and with each small success, my confidence grew. Yet, as my world expanded, Hiroshi's presence lingered at the edges, a ghostly reminder of a life I had left behind. I would hear whispers of his struggles, the rejections and setbacks that plagued his once promising career. It was a bittersweet symphony, his faltering steps contrasting with my newfound momentum. One evening, as I sat in the dim glow of my desk lamp, a message notification pinged, startling me from my thoughts. It was from Hiroshi. My heart lurched at the sight of his name, a tumult of emotions rising within me. The message was brief, a request to meet, to talk. Curiosity and caution waged a silent battle within me, but in the end, curiosity won. The cafe was quieter than usual, the soft strains of jazz floating through the air as I waited. When Hiroshi arrived, he looked different, the confident veneer replaced by a shadow of uncertainty. Our conversation was tentative at first, both of us skirting around the unspoken tension that hung between us. He spoke of the challenges he faced, the harsh realities of pursuing a dream without a safety net. There was a humility in his words that I had never seen before, and acknowledgement of his own vulnerability. As I listened, I realized that I no longer needed his validation, that my worth was not tied to his opinion. In that moment, I understood the true nature of freedom, not the absence of constraints, but the ability to choose one's own path, unburdened by the expectations of others. As I left the cafe, the cool night air brushed against my skin, carrying with it the scent of possibility. I had found my voice, and with it, the strength to forge a future of my own making. The air carried the scent of freshly fallen rain as I walked the familiar path, my thoughts a storm of their own. Every puddle reflected a sky that seemed to mirror my tumultuous emotions. It was the same route I'd taken countless times before, but today it felt different, as though the world was subtly shifting, its tectonic plates rearranging beneath my feet. It had been a year since Hiroshi left, taking with him not just the dreams we had woven together, but also a part of me that believed in the permanence of our bond. We had been inseparable, each other's shadows, and I had supported him through every endeavor, believing that his success was ours to share. Yet, when the opportunity came for him to soar, he chose to do so alone, leaving me grounded and bewildered. In the days that followed his departure, I found myself drowning in a sea of doubt and despair. But time, it seems, has a way of reshaping despair into determination. The pain of his absence became the forge in which I reforged my own dreams, dreams that had long been eclipsed by his. I immersed myself in my work, a small art studio that had been little more than a hobby, transforming it into a thriving business. Each brushstroke was a step towards reclaiming my identity, the colors on my canvas a testament to my resilience. The gallery opening, a culmination of months of relentless effort, was just around the corner. The anticipation was a palpable energy in the room. Strangers mingled with friends, their conversations a low hum that underscored the soft melodies playing from hidden speakers. I stood at the edge of the room, watching as people engaged with my art, each piece a fragment of my heart laid bare. As I wandered through the gallery, the familiar scent of coffee and cinnamon wafted through the air, reminiscent of mornings spent in our favorite cafe. It was a bittersweet reminder, but I let the nostalgia wash over me, knowing I had moved beyond those memories. Suddenly, a voice, deep yet hesitantly familiar, broke through my reverie. "You've done well for yourself, haven't you?" It was Hiroshi. He stood there, an embodiment of the past I had fought to reconcile with the present. His once bright eyes now held a shadow of uncertainty. For a moment, I was caught between the desire to confront old wounds and the need to maintain the composure I had worked so hard to achieve. "I have," I replied, my voice steady. "And you?" Hiroshi shifted, his gaze sweeping across the room. "Not as well as I hoped," he admitted. There was a vulnerability in his voice that I had never heard before. I thought I needed to find success on my own, but I lost sight of what truly mattered. His words hung in the air, a confession and an apology wrapped in one. Part of me wanted to revel in the irony, to allow the satisfaction of his admission to validate my own journey, but instead, I felt a sense of peace. Perhaps it was the realization that I no longer needed his validation, that my worth was not tethered to his perception of success. "I think we both learned something valuable," I said softly, acknowledging the growth we had both undergone. Our paths had diverged, but in doing so, they had led us to discover who we were as individuals. As the evening wore on, Hiroshi and I spoke of the past, of dreams once shared and those that had been born anew. The gallery slowly emptied, leaving us amidst the remnants of a night that had become a turning point. When he finally left, there was no bitterness, only the faint echo of closure. I stood alone in the gallery, surrounded by the vibrant expressions of a journey that had been mine to take. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets glistening under the streetlights. I stepped outside, the cool air a gentle embrace. The world felt different now, not because it had changed, but because I had. The future stretched before me, open and unwritten, a canvas waiting for the colors of a life I would paint anew. The rain drummed a steady rhythm against the window pane, each droplet a reminder of the passage of time, of the years I had devoted to supporting him. As I sat alone in the dim, flickering light of my apartment, the memories of our shared dreams echoed through the silence like whispers from a ghost. His name was Akira, a name that once resonated with hope and ambition, now only stirred a bittersweet ache in my chest. I met Akira during our first year at university, a whirlwind of energy and charisma. He had a vision, a dream of becoming a renowned artist, and I was captivated by his passion. I, on the other hand, was drifting, unsure of my own path. When Akira painted, his brush danced across the canvas with a fervor that was almost tangible. I found myself wanting to be a part of that dance, to support him in every way I could. The following years were a blur of late-night study sessions, art exhibitions, and whispered promises of a future where his name would be synonymous with greatness. I worked 2 jobs to help him buy supplies, sacrificing my own aspirations for the sake of his. It was a choice I made willingly, believing that his success would be our success. But then, without warning, the dream shattered. Akira left, taking with him not only the future we had envisioned, but also parts of me I thought were unbreakable. He said he needed to find himself, to explore the world beyond what I could offer. I was left standing in the wreckage of our plans, struggling to piece together the fragments of my own identity. In the weeks that followed, I found solace in the small things I had neglected. The sound of rain against the window became a symphony, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee a comfort. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since meeting Akira. At first, it was a way to fill the emptiness, to occupy my hands and silence my mind. But slowly, it became something more. A voice, my voice, emerging from the shadows of our past. The first piece I completed was a reflection of my pain, raw and unfiltered. It was a chaotic swirl of colors, an emotional tempest captured on canvas. I hesitated before sharing it online, fearing judgment, but the response was overwhelming. People connected with the vulnerability, the authenticity of what I had created. For the first time, I realized that my story, separate from Akira's, had meaning. Opportunities began to unfold like the petals of a flower, each one a step towards reclaiming my independence. Galleries reached out, interested in my work. I was invited to speak at workshops, sharing not only my art, but the journey that had led me there. With each new experience, I felt a sense of belonging that had been missing for so long. Then came the unexpected, the email that would change everything. It was from a prestigious art festival in Kyoto, inviting me to showcase my work alongside established artists. I stood in disbelief, the words blurring as tears welled in my eyes. This was the break I had never dared to dream of, an opportunity that validated every sacrifice, every moment of doubt. As I prepared for the festival, my thoughts drifted to Akira. I wondered if he had found what he was searching for, if he was proud of the person I had become. Part of me wished he could see the transformation, the strength that had emerged from the ashes of our shared past. But another part, quieter yet resolute, understood that this was my journey now, a path I had forged through resilience and self-discovery. The night of the festival arrived with an air of anticipation. The venue was a blend of elegance and creativity, each gallery space a testament to the diverse voices of the art world. I walked through the corridors, absorbing the energy, the collective heartbeat of artists and admirers. When it was finally my turn to present, I stood before an audience that seemed to hold its breath in expectation. I spoke of my journey, of the heartbreak and renewal that had shaped my art. The applause that followed was a balm. Healing wounds I hadn't realized were still open. It was in that moment, under the soft glow of the gallery lights, that I understood the true meaning of success, not in the accolades or recognition, but in the rediscovery of myself. As the festival drew to a close, I lingered in the gallery, watching as people admired my work. A familiar figure caught my eye, standing at the edge of the crowd. Akira. Our eyes met, and in that silent exchange, I saw understanding, perhaps even a hint of pride. He approached slowly, the years between us dissolving with each step. "You've come a long way," he said softly, his voice a gentle echo of the past. I nodded, a sense of peace settling over me. "And so have you." In that moment, I realized that we were both exactly where we needed to be. Our journeys, once intertwined, had diverged to lead us to this point, each of us stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace the future. The crisp autumn air nipped at my cheeks as I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, high above the bustling streets of Tokyo. The city stretched out beneath me like a sea of twinkling lights, each one a reminder of the dreams and ambitions that pulsed through this vibrant metropolis. I wrapped my arms around myself, not just to ward off the cold, but to hold together the fragile pieces of my heart. It had been months since Hiroshi left, and yet the ache of his absence lingered like a haunting melody, softly echoing in the crevices of my soul. I had supported him through thick and thin. His dreams had become my own, and I had poured every ounce of myself into ensuring his success. Hiroshi's talent was undeniable, yet the world of professional music was an unforgiving one, and it hadn't been kind to him. I had been his anchor, his muse, his everything. But eventually, it seemed, even that wasn't enough. He left one rainy afternoon, his eyes clouded with a distant resolve, murmuring about needing to find himself. The days that followed were a blur of confusion and pain, but amidst the heartache, I found something profound, my own voice, long submerged beneath the weight of another's dreams. With Hiroshi gone, I had no choice but to confront the silence of my own aspirations. It was terrifying at first, like stepping onto a stage with no script, but slowly I began to rediscover the person I had lost along the way. I turned back into the warmth of my apartment, the inviting scent of freshly brewed tea filling the air, a comforting ritual I had adopted in these months of solitude. As I poured myself a cup, I noticed the manuscript lying on the coffee table. It was my first screenplay, a story I had been nurturing in the quiet moments between life's demands. It spoke of loss and hope, much like my own journey, and the characters had become dear friends, their struggles and triumphs mirroring my own. My thoughts drifted to Yuki, my best friend and constant confidant. Her unwavering support had been a beacon through my darkest hours. She was the one who had encouraged me to send the screenplay to a local producer, a small step that seemed insurmountable at the time. To my astonishment, it was well received, and soon I found myself immersed in a world of creativity and collaboration, the very world Hiroshi had once inhabited, but on my own terms. The phone's sudden ring pulled me back to the present. It was Yuki, her voice bubbling with excitement as she spoke of an upcoming film festival where my screenplay would debut. The news sent a thrill through me, a sensation I hadn't felt in years. As we chatted, I felt a surge of gratitude for her unwavering presence in my life. Her belief in me had been a lifeline, and now, it seemed, my stars were finally aligning. The festival arrived with a flurry of anticipation. The venue was abuzz with energy, a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds that enveloped me in a heady embrace. I wandered through the throngs of people, absorbing the electric atmosphere, my heart a symphony of nerves and excitement. As the lights dimmed and my film flickered to life on the screen, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment. This was my creation, my voice, and for the first time, I allowed myself to bask in the glow of my own achievements. As the credits rolled and applause filled the air, I noticed a familiar figure standing at the back of the auditorium. Hiroshi. His presence was a shock, a ghost from a past I thought I had buried. He approached cautiously, his expression a mix of pride and something else. Regret, perhaps? Our eyes met, and in that moment I realized I had changed. I was no longer the person who had lived in his shadow. I had found my own light, and it was dazzling. We exchanged a few polite words, the conversation stilted and awkward. He spoke of his journey, the struggles and triumphs, and I listened with a detached curiosity. There was no bitterness in my heart, only a quiet acceptance. As he turned to leave, I wished him well, genuinely hoping he would find the peace he sought. Alone again, I stepped outside, the cool night air wrapping around me like a familiar embrace. The city shimmered with possibility, each light a testament to the countless dreams woven through its fabric. I had supported Hiroshi for years, but in the end, it was the journey through the shadows that led me to my own sunrise. The chill of the autumn air clung to my skin as I walked down the familiar cobblestone streets, leaves crunching beneath my feet. The avenue was lined with golden trees, their branches stretching towards the sky like weary arms reaching for solace. I couldn't help but reminisce about the countless evenings we spent here, each step echoing with laughter that now seemed like distant memories. The world had changed since he left, or perhaps it was just me who had transformed, stepping out of the shadows he once cast. When Hiroshi left, it felt like being thrown into the depths of an ocean without knowing how to swim. For years, I was the unwavering pillar of support, the silent architect behind his dreams. Yet, in the moment he turned away, I found an inexplicable void within me, a gaping chasm where once my devotion stood. It was in that emptiness that I began to discover myself, unearthing passions and ambitions I had long buried in the name of love. The journey was not immediate, nor was it easy. My first steps were tentative, each decision a tremor of uncertainty that shook my resolve. But with each passing day, I found strength in solitude, a quiet resilience that became my companion. The world seemed to conspire in my favor, presenting opportunities I never thought possible, each one a stepping stone towards a future I could finally call my own. One such opportunity came in the form of an art exhibition. It was a modest affair, a gathering of local talents showcasing their creations. I hesitated at first, unsure if my work could stand under the scrutiny of strangers. But the curator, a kind and perceptive woman named Aya, insisted I participate. Her belief in me was infectious, and with her encouragement, I decided to leap into the unknown. The night of the exhibition was a blur of colors and conversations. I stood amidst the crowd, feeling strangely exposed yet exhilaratingly alive. My paintings hung along the walls, each canvas a testament to the emotions I had poured into them. They were fragments of my soul, vivid expressions of joy, pain, and everything in between. As the night unfolded, I watched as people paused before my work, their eyes tracing the strokes and hues with intrigue. It was then that I met Takashi, a renowned art critic whose sharp eye and even sharper tongue made him both feared and respected. He approached me with a curious glint in his eyes, his presence commanding attention. "Your work speaks volumes," he said, his voice a rich tapestry of admiration and critique. "There's a raw honesty in your art, a narrative that draws one in." His words were like a balm to wounds I never knew needed healing. We spent the evening discussing art, life, and everything in between. Takashi had a way of seeing the world that was both refreshing and challenging, his insights sparking in me a fervor I hadn't felt in years. Our conversation was like a dance, each word a step that led me further into a new realm of possibilities. As the night drew to a close, I realized that the path I was on was no longer defined by shadows of the past, but illuminated by a new, vibrant light. Takashi's interest in my work opened doors to galleries and exhibitions across the city, each one a testament to the success I was slowly crafting with my own hands. Yet, amidst this newfound triumph, a part of me couldn't help but wonder about Hiroshi. I learned through mutual acquaintances that his career, once a rising star, had plateaued. The irony was not lost on me. The very dreams I had sacrificed so much for now seemed to elude him. But there was no bitterness in this revelation, only a profound sense of peace. Our journeys, though once intertwined, had diverged along paths that led us to where we truly belonged. As I walked home that night beneath the starlit sky, the world seemed to whisper its secrets in the rustling leaves. I was no longer the person who stood in another's shadow. Instead, I had become the architect of my own destiny, crafting a future bright with promise. The journey was far from over, but for the first time I was eager to see where it would lead. The morning sun filtered through my curtains, casting a golden hue over the room. Another day had begun, and with it, the familiar lingering of past memories I tried so desperately to forget. The world outside my window was alive, bustling with the chatter of people and the distant hum of traffic. Yet inside, a silence hung heavily. It was a quietness I had grown accustomed to, one that accompanied the absence of someone who had once filled these walls with laughter. I remember the day he left. It was as though the universe had shifted, leaving me to navigate a path I had never imagined traveling alone. For years, I had been his anchor, his unwavering support through every trial and triumph. It seemed unimaginable that our paths would diverge so drastically. Yet here I stood, on the precipice of a new chapter, the echoes of his departure still resonating within me. In the weeks that followed, I discovered an unexpected resilience within myself. The pain of his absence became a catalyst for transformation, pushing me to explore avenues I had long abandoned. I found solace in my art, pouring every ounce of emotion into my creations. With each stroke of the brush, every note of music that spilled from my fingertips, I felt a renewal of purpose, a rekindling of a passion that had been overshadowed by the shadows of our past. One evening, as I sat amidst a sea of canvases, a message arrived. It was from an old friend, Akira, who had always believed in my potential, even when I couldn't see it myself. He had come across one of my pieces online and was eager to discuss an opportunity that could change everything. The prospect was daunting, a chance to showcase my work at a renowned gallery in the heart of the city. It was a moment I had dreamed of, yet the fear of stepping into the unknown threatened to hold me back. But I couldn't let fear dictate my future. Not this time. With trembling hands and a heart pounding with anticipation, I accepted the invitation. The days leading up to the event were a whirlwind of preparations, a blur of excitement and nervous energy. I immersed myself in my work, channeling every emotion into the pieces that would soon be on display for the world to see. The night of the exhibition arrived, and as I stood before my creations, a sense of fulfillment washed over me. The gallery buzzed with life, voices mingling in admiration as patrons wandered from piece to piece. I watched as strangers connected with my work, their eyes reflecting a shared understanding of the emotions I had laid bare. It was a validation of everything I had endured, a testament to the journey that had brought me here. Among the crowd, a familiar face appeared, Akira, with his characteristic warmth and unwavering support. As we talked, he introduced me to a prominent art critic who had taken a keen interest in my story. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, and for the first time in a long while, I felt seen, appreciated for the person I had become. As the evening drew to a close, I found myself standing outside the gallery, the cool night air a welcome contrast to the heat of the vibrant celebration. I gazed up at the stars, their gentle glow a reminder of the vast possibilities that lay ahead. In that moment, I realized that I had not only survived the storm, but had emerged stronger, more determined than ever to embrace the future. The realization was bittersweet, a reminder of the path I had traveled and the person I had become. I had supported him for years, believing in a shared dream that ultimately led us down separate paths. Yet, in the void he left behind, I found a strength I never knew I possessed. As the stars twinkled above, I knew that this was only the beginning of my story, a story of resilience, transformation, and the unyielding pursuit of a life that was truly my own.